He prevailed and trekked onwards past.
Indie horror, a genre once defined by groundbreaking ideas, terrifying atmosphere, and daring creators. From the haunting corridors of amnesia to the viral scares of Five Nights at Freddy's, indie horror has been a breeding ground for unforgettable experiences. But in recent years, it seems that the genre's lost its spark. So what exactly happened, and how did indie horror go from leading the gaming world into darkness to becoming a shadow of its former self? Let's uncover the truth together. Every genre has had its icons, games that defined the era and inspire countless imitators. For indie horror, few games have been as influential as Five Nights at Freddy's. Of course, you know, it's Five Nights at Freddy's. Everyone knows Five Nights at Freddy's, right? But there was actually once a time where indie horror was not defined by this absolute monstrosity. Its success set for the stage a wave of imitators trying to cash in on the formula. Simplistic mechanics, lore-driven storytelling, and of course, mascot horror. It pretty much defined that word. But here's the problem. Imitation without innovation leads to mediocrity. What started as a unique experience quickly became an oversaturated market of FNAF clones. Developers leaned too heavily on predictable jump scares and recycled gameplay loops, leaving players with a sense of deja vu. When the genre becomes a sea of the sameness, even the best concepts lose their impact. Think of Poppy's Playtime. This game is not anything like Five Nights at Freddy's in terms of its gameplay. However, overall, it gives off the vibe that it's just trying to copy the mascot horror that FNAF founded. Instead of breaking new ground, many indie horror games began treading new water, riding the coattails of more successful titles. The heart of indie horror has always been innovation. With smaller budgets and teams, these games thrived on creativity. For example, Amnesia redefined survival horror with its emphasis on psychological dread. Slender the Eight Pages became a cultural phenomenon with minimalistic design. But as the genre grew, many developers started playing it safe. Instead of pushing boundaries, they recycled familiar mechanics. How many games have we seen where the main objective is to collect scattered items while avoiding a singular threat? While there are some exceptions, the genre's overall lack of innovation has left many players astray and maybe not wanting to come back to the genre at all. Horror at its core should still be unpredictable. If players can anticipate every scare, where's the fear? The rise of platforms like Steam and itch.io made it easier than ever for indie developers to share their games. While this accessibility is a good thing, it also led to oversaturation. For every standout title, there are a dozen of low-effort, rushed releases clogging the marketplace. This flood of new content makes it easier for truly innovative games to stand out. Games become fatigued, skeptical of new releases, and less willing to invest time or money into the genre. And there's the issue of mismanagement. Some games that show promise are just abandoned mid-development. I mean, look at so many games like Poppy's Playtime, or even Bendy and the Ink Machine. Others are stretched out way too thin with unnecessary spin-offs and merchandise campaigns that prioritize the profit over the players. I mean, just look at Poppy's Playtime, or even The Garden of Banban, or even Five Nights at Freddy's. What started as a chilling experience quickly became a marketing machine, leaving fans questioning the developer's priorities. Another factor I'd like to look at is the rise of trends within the genre. From mascot horror to liminal spaces, indie developers often flock to whatever's popular at the time. While trends can spark creativity, they also lead to oversaturation when everyone jumps on the same bandwagon. I mean, even just look at Battle Royale within the gaming competitive genre. Take analog horror, for example. A genre brimming with potential has quickly been becoming as predictable as more and more creators keep copying the same formula and more companies keep trying to make a quick buck on it. Despite its struggles, indie horror isn't dead. It's just at a crossroads. The genre thrives when it takes risks, when developers embrace their limitations and push boundaries instead of just trying to follow trends. Games like Inscription, for example, blend horror with unique gameplay mechanics. Titles like Signalis pay homage to classics while delivering something fresh. These games have proven that there's still hope for indie horror to reclaim its place as a leader in the industry. The question isn't whether indie horror can survive, it's whether developers are willing to take the risks needed to thrive. The scares we haven't seen yet are out there, waiting for someone brave enough to bring them into life. The genre's future depends on creators who aren't afraid to experiment, surprise, and most importantly, terrify us.